Hello and welcome to this wonderful course of computer network. Today we are going to discuss one of the major or main application of application layer, that is electronic mail, and this particular application works with the help of SMTP protocol and uh, couple of more protocols which are used for pulling the mails like POP and IMAP. So the basic protocol which is used in this particular electronic mail application, basic protocols which are used inside this particular electronic mail application are SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Second one is IMAP, and the third one is POP. IMAP stands for Internet Mail Access Protocol, and POP stands for uh, uh, Post Office Protocol, which is the first protocol. SMTP protocol is used for pushing the mails, and POP and IMAP both protocols are used for pulling the mails from the mail server. So as you can see on the slide, that there are three major components of electronic mail. The first one is a user agent, uh, which are users. The second one is mail servers, which are you can see on the screen that with the green and yellow color. These are the mail servers which are used for transferring a mail from one user agent to the other user agent. And third thing is simple mail transfer protocol, a protocol which is used for pushing the mail from one user agent to the other user agent. So as you can see at the bottom of this particular slide, user agent, which can be a mail reader, composer, which the point is that a user simply which creates a mail to send some information from his or her end to the other end, just for sending a mail from one end to the other mail. Okay, so you can see some of the examples of user agents used by the users are Outlook. You must have seen MS Outlook and Thunderbird. For iPhone, we have iPhone Mail Client. In the same way, we have a lot of other user agents which are used by the users to send or retrieve mails from the mailbox. So here you can see some points about mail server. A mailbox contains incoming messages for a particular user. Mailbox has some reserve area or reserve memory for a particular reason, for a particular user, where that particular user can save his or her mails, and those mails are at the server, and those mails are arranged in a queue. So message queue of outgoing uh, uh, mail messages which is to be sent uh, from the uh, sending side. And then you have SMTP uh, between mail server to send email messages, client sending mail server, and server receiving mail server. In this particular application, that particular same mail server can act as a client, and that particular mail server can act as a server in two different situations. If that particular mail server is sending the mail, then that particular server is acting as a client, and if that particular same server is receiving a mail, that particular server is acting as a um, server. Exactly. Again, this particular electronic mail application uses TCP connection for sending mails, and TCP is a transmission control protocol, or TCP connection is a reliable connection where your data will never be lost anywhere. So TCP connection, TCP protocol makes sure that the receiving end receives the complete message. And here this time, this particular electronic mail uses port number 25. um, what I mean to say is SMTP protocol uses port number 25. As in the last lecture I told you about the port number of STTP protocol, which uses 80. In the same way, SMTP protocol uses port number 25, and this particular application uses three phases, as you can see: handshaking phase, transfer of message phase, and the closure phase. Command response interaction like HTTP and FTP. What I mean to say is, as you have seen your commands in or a request or response type in HTTP protocol, in the same way you have commands in ASCII text, and response has status code and phrase, and message must be in 7-bit ASCII code. So here you can say on your screen that this particular user is using its user agent for sending a mail to this particular user, which is using his user agent. So in the first tab, Alice uses UA, user agent, to compose message to send to this particular user agent, and this is the email ID of that particular user. So in this particular application, you must have one thing, that you must have registered with one of the mail server. As you can see, these days a very popular mail server is Gmail, and most of the people are registered with the uh, Gmail mail server for sending and receiving the mail. In the same way, this particular user name is Alice, and this particular user is using her mail server for sending mail to this particular user, which has an address bob at the rate someschool.edu. Then in the second step, which you can see from the user agent to the mail server, is Alice user agent sends a message to her mail server. Message placed in message queue. uh, this particular message generated by this Alice is placed in a message queue. Then the third step is client side of SMTP. Now this particular server is acting as a client, because this particular server has to send its mail to the destined server. So now this particular application uses client server architecture, but you can see that here both the server are server, but this server is acting as a client and this server is acting as a server when this server is sending a particular mail to this particular server. So this particular server is acting as a client, this particular server is acting as a server in this case. Here, when this particular user agent communicates with this particular server, this particular client, which is already a client, acts as a client, and this particular mail server acts as a server. But here, when these two server has to communicate with each other, so the sending side will act as a client and the receiving side will act as a server. As you can see, client side of SMTP opens a TCP connection with Bob's mail server. His name is Bob and his name is Alice. You can see on the screen. And in the fourth step, once these two servers are done with the TCP connection with the help of three-way handshaking, SMTP client sends Alice a message over that particular TCP connection. And that TCP connection is open on which port number? It's open on port number 25, because SMTP uses port number 25 for creating connection with the server side. And in the fifth step, you can see Bob's mail server places the message in Bob's mailbox. So this particular user has her user agent and has her mail server. In the same way, Bob has his user agent and his mail server. So first of all, this is the architecture of sending mail from one side to the other, or you can say this is the architecture of electronic mail transfer, where one user is associated with a user agent and a mail server, and this particular user is registered with this particular mail server, and this particular Bob as a user is registered with this particular mail server, and both of them can transfer the information using this particular application using this architecture. So once your mail is at the Bob's mail server, as you can see, Bob invokes his user agent to read the message. So here Bob will get online and download all the mails from the mail server to his user agent. So here in this particular case, two different types of protocols are used in electronic mail application scenario. For pushing the mail from this side to this side and from this particular SMTP client to this SMTP server, protocol which are used is SMTP protocol, which is used for pushing the mail from the client side to the server side. And once your mails are at the uh, mail server of your side, that means the which Bob is registered with, then this Bob is going to use a different protocol for pulling the mail from his mail server, and those protocols are POP and IMAP. So that is how your electronic mail architecture works, and these are the commands which are used for sending the mail from SMTP client side to the server side. So this S stands for server and this C stands for client. And as you can see, once you are done with the TCP connection, your client will get a response 220 from the server side, and your client will use this hello command for saying hello to the server, and then this server will respond with this particular message. Then your client will use mail from, this is again a client where you mention your email address, you can see over here. In the same way, you will get a response from the server side. Then you will receive another command at the client side which says RCPT, which stands for recipient to, and you will mention your destined user's mail address in this particular client. Then you will get a response from the server side. Then the next command used by the SMTP protocol to push your mail from your end to the other end is the data command. Once you type this data command, then you can type your entire message after this particular command, and then you will get a response from a server side, a positive response. Then this is the message which you are sending from the client side to the server side, that do you like ketchup, how about pickles? And this period is also a command which is used for showing the server that this is the end of our message in our mail. And then finally the command used by the client side is quit. It is a command which is used for logging out from the user agent. So these are some commands used by SMTP protocol to push the mail from client side to the server side. So this particular separate slide tells about all the command used by SMTP protocol, that hello, mail from, recipient to, data, quit. So these are the commands used by SMTP for sending the mail. So here is the mail access protocol scenario, which you can see on your screen, that SMTP delivery storage to receiver server, mail access protocol retrieval from server. You are at this particular point, as I told you earlier, that SMTP is a command which is used for pushing the mail from Alice user agent to the Alice registered mail server. Then this particular server is acting as a client and it requests this particular server, and once they form a TCP connection with the help of three-way handshaking with the server. This particular client uses SMTP commands or SMTP protocol for sending that particular mail to the mail server. So once your mail is at your receiver's mail server side, then this particular Bob as a user has to use either POP or IMAP protocol for retrieving Bob's mail from the server side. As to it is clearly mentioned over here that POP stands for Post Office Protocol. It uses authorization and it downloads your mail from the server. And IMAP, Internet Mail Access Protocol. This particular protocol is the advanced version of POP, and it has some more features, and it includes manipulation of the stored messages on the server side, so through which you can access your uh, mails from the different locations in the same format in which you saved your mails at the server side. And then HTTP protocol can also be used over the web for browsing your mails, as you always do that for retrieving your mails without any user agent. I'm talking about MS Outlook and Thunderbird. Here, when you access your mails through a web browser, then you always use HTTP protocol for like retrieving your mails, or like when you use Gmail, Hotmail, and Yahoo, these type of mail servers, and you use a web browser to retrieve your mails from the web server. In that case, you use HTTP protocol as a mail pulling protocol from the server. So thank you very much. See you in the next lecture with some new topic. Thank you very much.